Molt bé, doncs...
And now we must welcome a person that for long has been in the educational scene, which does not mean he's grown old. Quite the opposite. I think he has much to contribute yet. Mr. Francesc Pedro from the UNESCO Division on Communications and Information on Education, and he will deliver a keynote speech. Thank you very much.
Bé, bon dia a tothom.
Good morning. It's indeed a privilege being provided with the opportunity to being back home and being invited to be back home with such an interested audience in front of you. So I'd like to thank the GSMA indeed for having provided us from the UNESCO with these opportunities. I'm here to share with you a certain dose of realism and then some good news as well. Let's see if I can manage. First of all, I'd like to tell you that I'm here on behalf of UNESCO, and UNESCO in the last 5 years has been able to put into many countries' agendas, both developed and developing countries, the topic of the development of the mobile technologies, and more so on connectivity as a tool for the transformation of education. As a matter of fact, within 2 weeks, as you can see in this small piece of ad at the bottom of this slide, we will be holding the Mobile Learning Week by UNESCO. If you have not done it yet, you still have some time, and please register, because on Monday and Tuesday, I think that you can log and follow on these very interesting seminars. And if you have the opportunity, even though I know that given the financial situation might be difficult, but also given your present work burden, maybe you can think about having a quick trip to Paris. And if not this year, and if this is still to be held in 2017, if you come and meet us at the Mobile Learning Week in 2016, at least I will buy you coffee. I know it's not that much, but at least if you can come and find me, I'll buy you coffee. And after this small piece of art, and after recognizing the task that's been done by the UNESCO, let me focus on some areas that might seem detached from the frontline day-to-day chores at schools, but yet are important. And I'd like that when leaving this room, or at least when concluding with my presentation, I'd like you to look at your own work from a different angle. Not necessarily better angle, but at least a different angle. First thing I'd like to share with you is the change we've gone through, I would say, in the last 16 years, and this indeed started back in the year 2000, on the notion of educational evolution. Traditionally speaking, educational evolution or innovation, for those of you who have been trained in teaching, you may agree with me in that innovation is quite a mantra. And we take for granted that in education, innovation per se is something good. Now, let me add a question mark to this. But first of all, I want to share with you this not high-res picture, yet a picture that closely resembles many of our schools. Probably this is a high school. And you might think that this is a picture that's often from the 19th century. Well, some people would say that even this is back to the 18th century. Yet, we were all raised in such an environment, and we didn't fare that bad. I think that we can all read and write and count. We have a good job. We make our contribution to the society. So we didn't fare that bad. Yet, we are seeing more and more indications in the surrounding environment that this can no longer be like that anymore, or not just like that. So we propose innovation as a way for exploring, so that we must find ways for change. change in the methodology, no doubt, because we are looking for the development of new skills, new competencies that the present society and present economics will be requiring and is demanding from our countries and from our competitors, but also in what we are teaching. I don't have time today, but maybe on a different date I could contribute on UNESCO's view on the use of coding in the classroom, even on primary schools, and to talk about the advantages. But yet, let's leave this aside. So, we propose a change here. Up until the year 2000, this was a change on how we are analogically organized. For those of you who are in primary education or even children's education, or you might remember that there was that idea of areas within the classroom. And you might think about also something that started back in the 19th century and early 20th century, like the Montessori approach, and then changing the way the furniture was arranged. So we have different opportunities to think that we may educationally be organized in a different manner. Yet this has to do also in how we distribute our own schools, the way the teachers perform the work. Now, second thing, maybe a change strictly on the pedagogical flow, on the way we work. The way the teachers work and expect their students to work as well. So we're talking about the school's work. So we might change the way we organize the school, the way we arrange the furniture, or the way we have either divisions or departments or not, and also our workflow together within the school. And then a different innovation might be a change in the technologies that we've used. And this is, by the way, an empty blackboard. And I still think on many schools that use these. Now, the question is whether this definition of educational innovation as a change in the organization's processes or technologies is indeed something that's contributing, something that's making a difference. Can we say that present-day schools, and this is something that I often been asked, and on which country should we be looking for a true systemic innovation of the educational system? Well, truth be told, I don't know that country yet. I mean, all countries have their small innovations. No matter where you look at, Africa, Asia, North America, there's always one school that it's at least worth visiting. And there are always 200 leading people at the forefront of innovation. But then, systemic innovation, well, maybe you can later prove me wrong, but I still have not known what that is. And indeed, what we have found is that what's been mostly achieved are first-rate changes. And by that, what do I mean? First-rank change, let me showcase this to you with a clip, with a video. It's in Portuguese, but hopefully you will get it.
2 vezes 2,
2 by 2, 4. 2 by 3, 6. 2 by 4, 8. 2 by 5, 10. 2 times. 2 times 6, 12. 2, 6. 2 times 7, 14. And so on and so forth.
9, 18. 2 vezes 10, 20.
Prezada professora, é com satisfação que eu lhe informo. A partir de hoje, a sua...
This is a reform text. From now on, your school will be modern. We will have a transformation, new equipments, new tools to have a modern school, a future school. New technologies can provide an education for excellence. You will have the possibility to use these very modern tools. 1 week later. Two times 1, 2. 2 times 2, 4. 2 times 3, 6. Well, I get you. I think you get the message, and probably many of you have already seen these type of clips, or even this very one. In Catalan, we have an expression like saying that we are using something for not good purpose. And indeed, this is a reality that we face in many countries. We have invested a humongous amount of resources, and not just financial resources, but bear in mind the amount of labor hours that are behind this to end up doing what you could do without the need of technology. This is what we call a first rank change, which is basically just cosmetics having no impact on the day-to-day of their students, not even the development of their skills, not just in content, but also on competition. Now, you might say, okay, we get your idea, Francesc. You are just saying that at the end of the day, we need to come up with disruptive innovation. Well, I know that disruptive is usually the buzzword for today, like meaning you are bold, you are being disruptive. Well, technically, a disruptive innovation is a change that indeed, like people would be saying here at the Mobile World Congress, manages to open up new markets. And a clear historical example is the famous 4T. So, Mr. Ford did not invent the automobile himself. What he managed to do was that by means of the line production, he managed for the car, the automobile, to be brought out to a market that was a mass market. We cannot say that we are looking for disruption through educational innovation, because maybe we are changing methodologies, but technically speaking, we don't have that many examples of disruptive innovation. And if there are a couple of them, they are not related to our setting. The most well-known is on higher education, and I guess you know about this. It's the MOOCs, and I guess most of you might participate in MOOCs as users or as teachers, which no doubt has opened up the market to different approaches, to different perspectives. But I know that MOOCs, massive online courses, are aiming at creating new businesses sooner or later. There is the first MOOC, for instance, Coursera, is providing the opportunity to paying $249 by receiving a customized mentoring. So I would not say that this is disruptive, but maybe just a major path to end up at such a point. In the case of schools, we only have one example of disruptive innovation that probably cannot be applied to all European countries. And these are children and primary schools which are online. This is not to be found here in Europe, yet these are quite popular and a bit multimillionaire business for many companies in the United States, because it's opening up the educational world to many people that are not attracted by the public proposition on education, and they want to educate their children at home. So there's not that many disruptive innovation. Probably what we have in front of us are some major challenges requiring for no disruptive innovation, but rather a systematic innovation, so that whenever an outstanding work is done by a teacher, and that's very good, unless we are able to escalate this will be no good. At the end of the day, we know that these lone teachers or lone groups of teachers that push forward, unless they have a system recognizing their effort, sooner or later they will die out of exhaustion. And we need to tackle this. We have two challenges, specifically in the European context. One, and this is not in glucose, by the way, it's rather the pie of the resources that we used to have at hand not that long ago, up until 2008, is shrinking by the days. And so in the coming years, probably on the midterm, I would say that we cannot count on having the same resources we used to have before 2008. And even worse, it's not just that the pie grew smaller, but also when we are being given our part of the pie, our slice of the pie, it's like they will looking at you like, well, will you really be eating these all up?
So I'm not sure that you deserve this slice of cake, because actually you don't evidence that. You can't prove that you eat it the right way. You don't live up to my expectations as a return on this investment ROI. In fact, this cake, for instance, given to the pension system, we know the ROI on it. If it's given to the research, biomedical research system, we know the ROI on it. But you, what do you give me for that? So you can even thank me for giving you a slice of cake. This is my first challenge. Excuse me for approaching it like this, but this is the way I go through it. My second challenge, it is an easy to understand allegory. It doesn't tell what we are talking about, but since 2000, this has substantially changed the categories we apply to education, and it is highly linked to my first message. So, in this framework in which we have to evidence outcomes and show which the ROI is, in fact, my issues with the fact that although here we celebrate the utilization of technology to change the school outside, it doesn't show on the screen, but the GSMA will provide you with a copy for you to use. This is what matters for people. This is broken down into countries. And many people breaks it down school by school domestically. These are the outcomes of a PISA poll as to maths, sciences, language. Here, there is a scale on the left with 100 items. On the X line, this is the average of all participating countries. Our friend country, Spain, is red for us to know where they are. I don't have specific data for Spain, for Catalonia, sorry. So, this is all the hat. You know which my question is about it? Countries at the top, those at the top, all of them come from the same continent. They are away from Europe. The countries at the top are countries where actually they had the system change, and technology changed pedagogy there and education there. You know what we are up to? Let's remake this chart using a second axis, which is the axis of utilization of ICTs in schools in minutes. Let's make up that these countries that are the best users of ICTs per minute at the school are the countries that are more prone to transforming their own educational systems. So eventually we can make 4 possible likely scenarios. One, this one, red, with countries with PISA scores above the OECD average. At the same time, on this side of the chart, all of them use very little ICTs in the classroom. This is a scenario we dislike. Low averages, PISA averages in maths and low utilization of technology. One more box at the top, providing for countries with, in fact, as we say, scores lower than PISA averages, but use technology a lot, On the left, it is the other way around. Sorry, it is the other way around. Here, these countries with scores below the average who use a lot of technologies. In yellow, it's marks above the average in PISA with little utilization of ICTs. The ideal scenario we all want to reach is the green box, where PISA grades are very good, and this accounted for by the fact that these countries are the best users of ICTs. Let's have a breakdown of countries over these 4 boxes in colors. They go into them like this. I mean, we failed, we lay an egg. I don't know whether you do research work. We research an assumption and we expect for the answer. Sorry, I don't have the answer. The green box with countries with good language, maths, PISA scores that are above the average, which I like. Countries who are the best users. These are the minutes per day in the classroom of ICTs used in the classroom. It's only 2 countries there in the green box, which are not the countries with the top PISA marks, which are Denmark and Australia. They are very far away from the scores of Korea or China. So we don't have countries we should go to for educational reasons to have a look at how these systems have changed. The most similar case is Australia, and it's far away from us. Second remark from it, let's have a look at the lower y-axis. X-axis, sorry. It is the amount of minutes per day of 15 8-year-old students using ICTs in the classroom. Most countries, so to speak, are below 28 minutes per day of utilization of ICTs for 15-agers. This is the average. There are those who spend longer, others who spend shorter. The longest user countries go up to 58 minutes a day. These figures compare to the personal experience of the same students when they are off school. It is a range going from 120 minutes up to 180 minutes a day, according to polls off school. And on weekends, 150 minutes up to 240 minutes a day, according to what they tell us. I had teenagers myself, and I challenge that. The ones I'm acquainted with, at least, even go beyond these figures. My own teenage children. Unfortunately, we've not made it yet. We are still walking towards that. We should factor this in. Perhaps I'm boring you to death. Let's recall, however, and you can Google for that. Google for the McNamara fallacy. It was the Secretary of State of the USA when the Vietnam War, and up to the last minute supported that the USA was winning the war. He just counted the number of casualties of the enemy. So the Americans killed more and more people until eventually someone told him, but wars are not won only by killing many enemies, are won by capturing the will of people. This is what the USA failed to do in Vietnam. So let's be careful. Let me be humble about it. As it is the case with us researchers, let me ask about data we use in these assessments. We assess what we assess. These are competencies and skills, not knowledge. Perhaps we don't really size with our assessment systems what actually matters. For the time being, for instance, when I'm back at home after a long trip, I am at home a Saturday in the evening, I open up the fridge and there is some bread and a piece of potato omelette, which is stale. I can either do 2 things. I go to sleep without supper and I say, well, this puts me on a diet. Or I thaw the bread, I micro-oven the omelette, and I try to manage. Now I support eating what we have, PISA data. Let's work so that the next time we fly away, when we go back, there is something else in the fridge waiting for our supper, instead of the stale piece of omelette. For the time being, let's keep it. From year 2000 down, our approach to innovation has changed. Innovation is not a change. You shouldn't say that. It's no longer the case. This change should imply value, and this is the issue with it. How can we measure that value? How can we assess it, adjust it? Usually, in UNESCO, we say that this can be adjusted in 3 different modes. First, an innovation is thought to be educational, not because it implies a change, but because it implies a change leading to an outcome. That should be A, user satisfaction. I quote Mr. Hoffman at the opening ceremony. Perhaps thanks to using ICTs, we may motivate, encourage children. The English speak a word that is engagement, doesn't translate into Catalan. I mean enticing people to be keen on it. We working for that. When we see them happy, we'll be happy as well, and your family will be happy as well. That's quite an achievement if we all are keen on that. So it implies a change that with added value, satisfaction for everyone. It is not excluding at all. These snapshots are real. Prices were discounted, but everything is the same. There are even worse ones telling that prices have been tampered with. We may say, satisfaction, we can't make it. But in the present scenario, thanks to ICTs, our costs go down. Some apps deal with that and succeed. Those of you primary teachers, I don't know how you send your calls for PTA meetings. There are apps abroad for that. Now the concept of father and mother is not always linked to the same tax address, but it is a different address used. There is one app to send that to everyone, and you don't know whether they will show up or not for PTA meetings. This saves ink and paper for us. I did a piece of research 20 years ago for the educational department. It was very interesting because I found out, it wasn't related to my research target, but I found out that most used technology in primary school settings was not a computer, but the Xerox machine. And it was by chance, by serendipity, because when I met teachers and principals, we met at the assembly room, at the teacher's lounge, where the Xerox machine is, with a continuous flow of people coming in and out for Xerox. And if we can do without a Xerox machine, this implies savings. But it is not education. I don't know. But at least it helps us. It helps us do a better work. Third, this is what we actually like to have: people being engaged, happy, spending more money, and especially people learning more and better. Therefore, this is my first message for you to bring home. When you say that you promote assessments or that you support faculties assessing, those of you principals, directors, please recall all the time that supporting innovation is not for the sake of that, but it's helpful for you finding out whether with innovation you're able to improve the performance of your teaching. Ladies and gentlemen, this should be eligible for measuring. When we tell teachers of political sciences, we tell them that what's not measured is not managed. You are school principals, so this is the message for you to bring home. What can be measured can be properly managed. We may carry on turning our back to reality, but I think at least we should get convinced that innovations we should promote, the ones that actually will lead us to systemic changes, are innovations with outcomes that are evident as to satisfaction, as cost management, as regards the improvement of learning. I wish we could succeed in these 3 boxes. This brings me to a systemic innovation pathway. I'm not here just to give you a screed or because I support that technology changes our panorama. our life, our scenario, but because I satisfy myself that thanks to technology, we have a Trojan horse for us to again dwell on how to improve the quality of our teaching. Therefore, the role given to technology, to ICTs, depending on the outcomes from empirical research, makes me draw the conclusion that innovation supported by technology that actually implies substantial changes, adding value, translate into three things or features. First, very simple.
Voy para aquí.
Let me stop here. It wasn't what I wanted to show you. No, it's not even a failure with VTR. No, it wasn't the case. It's using ICTs to do the same we used to do. Is it saying, watch these wonderful screens, these wonderful 3D scenarios, you take it down, and I teach. Was it what I was up to? Does it make students feel happier? Do you think it is cost management? We are clear about it, especially tell me whether this influences the performance of children. I don't know. I still think that although this video got an award from the USA president, and you can Google for that, it is longer. It's been highly circulated. This video is misleading. It implies better technology and ICTs to carry on doing as the Brazilian teacher did in her classroom in the first video film. So the three topics I dwell on are not related to this. Let's have a look at one more thing, please, one more video for you to watch.
Bé, heu vist, suposo...
When I was a kid myself, I waited to read La Vanguardia because of a game there called The Seven Differences. I think the 7 differences between this video and the previous one do show. But let me point out for you that this video features 3 of the features that, from the point of view of the results of empirical research, are more influential in order to improve the quality of learning, and it influences the scores. First, customize the learning or the occasion, as in here. It is not looking for the app, but learning the concept for that. Second, one more important thing, and it challenges the first one but doesn't, which is shared learning. A scenario with a team of students with an expert teaching the trainee and a trainee becoming an expert in other topics. So it is customizing cooperation for learning, and this shows in project cooperation. Third critical issue from empirical research standpoint is feedback that is immediate. I mean, the student does something and gets immediately feedback from it, telling whether he's been right or wrong about it, and getting remarks from the teacher. It is immediate feedback. It goes together with important issues such as, for instance, let me recall the case of this girl at home, theoretically still learning with her mentor or father with her. The connection with the community and the screen and the way we interact with people who may contribute contents to the school. And there are new educational packages, even related to technology, project-based learning, for instance, as seen on the screen. At home or in the classroom, let's compare both videos for you to check that this one actually shows ICTs that are available in the marketplace. Therefore, it doesn't meet the condition of cost management. Let's size whether our investment leads to increased learning performance, which is what we like to get. Before the 2 videos, told you about 3 achievements that are very easy, that have been empirically evidenced. Good usage of ICTs for substantial innovation. This generally implies 3 gains. First, as said by Mr. Hoffman before, and I agree with him on it, is motivation. It shows in the words of a group of students that take the floor later. It is meeting them wherever they've been for a long time, meeting them in their own territory. Second, convenience. 7-Eleven, the supermarkets that work 24/7. It's convenient for us to know that these presentations available somewhere in the network, in the net. And it is typical of UNESCO. If it is available in an open license environment, so you can download this presentation, can reuse it the way it is, and you can edit it. These are the values we support, and this makes things convenient. The third feature, the third achievement, is performance, productivity, is asking, thanks to the introduction of ICTs, do I manage, this is my question for you to take, do I manage to teach better, or do they manage to learn better? This is my question for you to answer. Most of you, I'm sure, that have a smartphone in the pocket that may have cost some 150 to 100 euros. This is in your pocket. You take into account the statistics. You don't have high salaries of people outside the room, and despite that, you don't earn that much, but you have an opportunity to spend that much in these devices. You and many faculty members, even in developing countries, where you may astonish at how many teachers use smartphones at different prices with different performance rates. Why do you do it? Why do you invest so much in these devices? Because you expect an ROI. Because you are better communicated, you access apps that fix issues for you. This is the philosophy we should actually apply to our decisions related to school ICTs. For instance, let's guess whether we should carry on investing in having ICTs in the schoolrooms, or whether we should create agendas, as has been said here, that imply that students come to the schoolroom to use the ICT they've got at home. Let me stop here. So it is motivation, convenience, and performance, the message to bring home. But this is okay. This is in the polls, in the surveys. But the key to it is ability, your skills, the skills of faculty members you work with in your classrooms, in your schoolrooms. And this is what we should carry on working on. Let me point out for you that this is not related to PISA polls, but it is related to one more critical issue. On the y-axis, it is a percentage of teachers and the students who are 16-agers, 15-agers, who think themselves to support the use of ICT in the schoolroom. On the x-axis, percentage of school children who do it as well. There's one more issue with us. I don't know whether you share it. Our surveys tell that the digital natives case is okay, but beware. They are digital natives because it is convenient for them. Beware. Using technology to make them work more when in the classroom, that's not always welcomed. I don't know what I'm talking about. Let me tell you that using Wikipedia and Google to answer these questions, the 3 reasons of the French Revolution, this is okay with us. But using technology to carry on with a bridge project when it is easier to sit down and sweating over the formula of mass or gravity, well, this needs much dexterity for the teacher, from the teacher. This chart evidences that there are very few countries currently in Europe where these elements go together. I mean, teachers who support utilization of ICTs in the classroom and students who do it as well. They include Norway. This is a short video.
Og tar ikke læringsoppdraget sitt på alvor.
Så det er 2 prinsipper som kan være veldig enige om. Utdanning er forferdelig viktig. IKT må være en del av det.
Hvis ikke lærerne og de vi skal lære tilpasser sine metoder til hvordan vi lever vårt liv, så er det ikke noe jeg kan identifisere meg med.
Jeg tror at digital kompetanse skal være med helt fra barnehagen og oppover. At man skal tilrettelegge bruken av digitale verktøy i undervisning i forhold til det trinnet barna og de unge er på til enhver tid.
Vi er oppvokst i en verden hvor det er telefon og TV og mobil og PC hele tiden. Så jeg synes det er en ganske stor del av hverdagen, og da synes jeg også vi elever skal få lov til å ta bruk det som vi er mest komfortable med å bruke.
Så setter du null der, så får du egentlig ekstra.
Som generasjon var jeg jo ekstremt flink til å multitaske. Jeg kan jo se på TV, gjøre lekser, snakke med venner og spise mat samtidig.
Barna, elevene, studentene er vår hovedmålgruppe. Men det kan ikke skje uten alle lærere, uten alle som faktisk er der og skal gjøre jobben. Vi er deres samarbeidsparter.
Når vi bruker PC, så ser du jo plutselig at du får med deg kanskje andre elever som blir mer engasjert enn da du eller bare bruker penn og papir. Og de som kanskje er sterke digitalt, som er veldig gode til å spille og sitter mye på PC ellers, men kanskje ikke så faglig flinke, de er plutselig med der som en ressursperson og vet hvor man skal trykke og ordner og fikser. Så de får jo selvtillit bare for det, og i tillegg så blir de jo kanskje engasjert i faget.
Det som viktig fra min side som utdanningsdirektør, det at kommunen tar grep, og at ikke det opp til den enkelte skole hvor de vil legge standard.
Altså for å satse på IKT, for å lykkes med en satsning, så det helt klart ledelse. Og her i Drammen så har vi med ledelse, politisk ledelse, administrativ ledelse, ledelse ute i alle virksomheter, samordnet om denne satsingen.
Rektor fundament i dette. Skole med rektorer som ikke ser vitsen med dette, der det en utfordring.
Vi må legge til rette for at de ansatte får rom til å prøve ut og feile, for det må man få lov til. Ellers vil man ikke tørre å prøve heller. Og det må settes av tid både til diskusjon og samarbeid, altså kursing kanskje i mindre grad, fordi at jeg har mer tro på det jevne samarbeidet.
Så det viktig at vi hjelper hverandre, at vi får til en delingskultur, der en kunnskap som noen besitter, spres til resten av personalet.
Elever som lærer andre elever, kursing, den kulturen med både deling og det med lov å være god, det kulturer som bør være til stede, og som IKT virkelig fremmer.
Når man bruker PC som et virkemiddel, så gjør det at flere blir engasjert å lære. Fordi man kan finne så mange måter å lære på som mulig, og det gjør at også flere kan lære ting. Fordi det ikke alle elever som har samme læringsmetoder.
Og noen av de beste lærerne jeg har hatt, de som faktisk lar andre elever forklare meg det. Med sine ord, med sine metoder, med den hjelpen de kan tilby, da.
Når man lar elevene slippe til, så gir det følelse av ansvar. Og da gjør det at man ofte blir mer motivert også, når man får sjansen til å vise hva man god for. Så jeg synes at lærerne burde bruke elevene som den ressursen de og la dem blomstre, rett og slett.
Si at du har en forelesning av en lærer, og det en historiefellesning, så det veldig greit hvis man nevner en hendelse eller en person, så det veldig greit å bare ha verdens største informasjonskilde rett foran deg og bare kunne google det da.
Det som jeg ser særlig i matematikk som jeg underviser nå, at det å lage små instruksjonsvideoer for å differensiere gjør jo at når du skal gjennomgå noe, og så vet du at det ganske mange av elevene som trenger dette her 1 gang og 2 ganger og 3 ganger før de skjønner det, og det har ikke du mulighet til i timen, så har de muligheten til å enten sitte i timen med ørepropper, eller de kan høre den videoen hjemme når de sitter med oppgaver.
Altså, du har utrolig mange muligheter ved hjelp av IKT. Så jeg tror vi må bare se mer mulighetene, og så ikke se begrensningene, og ikke bruke så mye energi på å stoppe og stenge nettet og alt det som blir gjort i dag.
The teacher needs to be the learning professional, but the teacher does not have to be as good with the technology as the children are, and can never be as good as the children are. Children are completely immersed in this. They have so much time to give to becoming expert with technology, but the teacher is the learning professional. The teacher is the one that helps them to learn about their learning.
Ho he de deixar aquí en raó del temps.
Let me stop it here, but I think that this video should be watched by you again. It is not theory, but it is the daily business at schools, one in Norway. And this recalls some things for me that are very important. First, it does dwell on principles and what they are up to, in order to support, to enable this innovation. Second, striking feature, and directly, this reminds me that in the world around this room, people don't show how professional they are, how knowledgeable they are, how skillful they are working in isolation. There will be a day when our tests or exams will be exams for us to authorize students helping one another instead of cheating. In the next PISA polls, we factor in, there are some tests that will try to measure the ability of students to work together to fix problems. Everything goes back to the beginning. And with this, I top it off. We can have it if the abilities of our faculties, material skills, professional opportunities for them, and also the time they have available. The main issue we all have with it, which is not in the hands of the schools to manage here, is breaking this Fordian barrier or approach to education, according to which the contracts of teachers equal hours spent off the blackboard. And I like blackboards, but a good teacher, I think, in his trade should have opportunities, as the Norwegian teacher said, opportunities to work with other teachers, to get it wrong, and this should be acknowledged. No way, it's not that you should wait to have it fixed. The secret of the successful Finnish system has been that in the framework of teachers' contracts, they spend hours dealing with the students and also hours spent with individual students with specific issues with learning. 1, 2, 3. And these hours are not taught over the weekends or in the evening of school and charged for that. No, it goes into the content of the contract. If we are no longer Fordian, we need the ways to make contracts, so to speak. I don't know. It's more complex than this. This is my way to make it understandable. So that labor conditions, working conditions for teachers who keen on it may carry on with it. Let's take pains for that. Let me top off with a critical fact. Guess which the incentives are that people like you, for instance, the awards given today here are okay, but unfortunately, they only go to some of you. There are many people that take pains to make it. Which acknowledge do they get from us? Which incentives do they get from us? I'm not one of those thinking that a financial incentive make people like you to teach. If you working on money, you will be outside this room, in the compound, but outside this room. You are not moved by that. So let's look for your incentives, which is opportunity to work with other fellow teachers to test, knowing that you can get it wrong, or the opportunity to get more resources available for you that you know improve the quality of teaching. Those of you working with students with special needs being acknowledged for your effort. These are data for you to mind. Let me top off with another 2 data. And it's 1 more minute for me, 2 critical data. First, since 2010, when we pass some tests, the UNESCO harps again and again that 30 hours of training, I think it's 30 in Spain, 30-hour packages, but it's not the Catalan case, it is the standard. 30 hours of training with teachers going to a schoolroom, to a classroom, and later going back to another classroom are not as influential as 3 tutoring areas by hours by the same teacher in the classroom or school where he/she works. 30 versus 3. And this has been insisted on by us many times. And we've put it to test, even financially, factoring in the cost in private. In your case, it is a cost, but in countries that are priority for us, costs are different, because our priority is the developing nations. And you know our main issue is that we have people working in isolated places. Sometimes it's working for 2 hours to reach the school. Sometimes some people eventually don't show up. Instead of taking them away from there, let's check how they work. Let's check the walls of the classroom. Let's check the technology they use, the blackboards they write on, and let's specify with them which the needs are, which technical support we can provide them with for educational purposes. And let's go one more time to check the change. 3 hours do make the difference. Second figure that to share with you. You don't do anything with technology, don't invest in connectivity and equipment if you are not bound to at least 30% of your budget going into development of skills of teachers who must work on that basis. Everything's set on this 3 figure, and 3 are the minutes I've overdone. Let me add that there is a sad story. Let me call it to top off. I recommend you to Google for that. I can't dwell on it. That's the case of Dr. Semmelweis, a Hungarian doctor working in a Vienna hospital, broken down into 2 different sections. He realized that the section where he worked, the rate of children death was 3 times higher versus that of the other section. It's 1847, more or less. That's the time. He couldn't understand it. It is the childbed fever, as they say. He eventually found that the difference between his section and the opposite one is that the section where he worked in the bottom had a mortuary where they gave post-mortems to corpses. And doctors left, in 1847, left the mortuary with hands and washed to deliver babies upstairs. So, no surprise, there was such a high rate of childbed fever. And he realized that, and eventually he was isolated, locked up in a bedlam. Why? Because he put at the front the evidence, and his fellow doctors turned their back to him. He died alone and locked up in a bedlam. And this happened 150 years ago. This goes into our way to understand things. When we go to the toilet, we wash our hands. And poor you, if you go with your kid to the toilet and he fails to wash his hands. At the schools, you are told, don't smoke and wash your hands. And washing policy. This Semmelweis effect is important for us. You know why? Because my message for you to bring home is, please, when you do educational innovation, please record what you do. Do show which the benefits are in that.
Yet, I must recognize that there is a risk of you ending up in a bedlam, in an asylum. But yet, probably it's a risk worth going. Thank you very much.